Good morning, everybody. I was having trouble sleeping, and this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So I thought I would do a short stream about it. The title. Uh, hold on a second. Damn it. Mm, there, that should be better. But anyway, um, I know there's a lot of people that think that atheists can't work a 12-step program because of the whole God thing, and they think it's cultish. Um, that's a little bit of a misnomer. For instance, atheists, or I'm sorry, cults have leaders. Atheists or cults have leaders, and AA or other 12-step programs have no leaders. You can come and go as you please. No one's going to try to keep you there. Now, early on in my sobriety, the God thing, it bugged the shit out of me. They're like, oh, you're never gonna get sober unless you have a higher power. You're never gonna get sober unless you have a higher power. So, um, you know, there's a lot of peer pressure, involved. So, I decided to, make my higher power the group of drunks, or a good orderly direction. There's no God involved when you use them as your higher power. And a lot of the 12 steps are obviously God based, but there are a secular version of the 12 steps, and I'll show you that in a moment. But when I first came in, as an atheist, I went in there and I was hurting so bad when you're just as miserable high and drunk as you are sober. You look for solutions. And I tried every solution there was. I tried using responsibly. I tried switching drugs. I tried psychiatry. I tried everything under the sun. So I thought, I'm gonna give Alcoholics Anonymous a try. And when I first went in there, I was so turned off by the God talk. And that was a hard hurdle to overcome, because my first reaction was to look for all the differences in the people around me. And that was just my addiction not wanting to get help, I think, in my opinion. But once I started looking for the similarities, I and I started listening to people minus the God stuff. I heard my story over and over and over again. And I thought, these people are full of shit. There's no way they're real addicts like me. Like, people say, what are your triggers? And my trigger was my eyes were open. That's the only trigger that was involved. And luckily I got a sponsor that told me, look, don't worry about what you believe. He said, do the action that's involved in the book, and just know that if you follow good orderly direction and follow the directions in the book, your life will change. And what he meant by that was, in early sobriety, I didn't understand what he meant, but now I know what he means. And what he meant was, as the addicts have their brains work a little differently than normal people. Um, we're very selfish people. We think the world revolves around us. I mean, I know a lot of non-addicts feel that way too, but um, we think that, we have a lot of resentment, a lot of fear, and I had to understand that I needed to learn who I was as a person. I didn't like myself at all. I hated who I was, and it took a lot of time. But eventually, with the help of other people, you know, I was able to overcome that. And I think a lot of people in AA, they I hate whenever they say, "Oh, I'm sober today and I have God to thank for that. Only God to thank for that." And that pisses me off because, when you hear hoofbeats, you're a normal person would think, "Oh, a fucking horse is coming." But for some reason, people who believe in God hear horse beats and they expect a fucking centaur or a zebra, and that's just irrational, you know. So early on in my sobriety, like I said, the peer pressure was a motherfucker. Hi, Vance. The peer pressure was a motherfucker. People are like, "Oh, you're not going to get this program unless you have a spiritual experience and you have a higher power." And that's a bunch of bullshit. You know, I mean, for instance, they say, "Oh, you got to pray. You got to get on your knees every day and thank God that He woke you up." And I thought to myself, does God's magic only work for 24 hours? Or, I mean, what's the point in praying to a fucking entity that doesn't exist? And here's what I think they get from that. I think that, whatever keeps them sober, keeps them sober. More power to them. But see, a lot of people, even as an atheist, I've said foxhole prayers. Like, I've been in jail. I'm like, "Oh, God, get me out of this one. I'll never do that again." But then I thought to myself, how many priests are drunks? How many Muslim imams are drunks, or Mormon preachers, or Baptist preachers, or whatever the case may be. And they pray all the fucking time. And obviously, that prayer isn't working. So that tells me that the action you take is more important than the prayers. So that was an eye-opening experience for me. And I don't know if a lot of you know anything about the 12-step program, but um, it's a matter of learning who you are, learning how to admit your faults, and trying to change the way you live. Because when I was an addict, my life consisted of, I could never tell the truth. First of all, no one was worth anything to me unless I could get something from them, or I could sell something to them. Um, I I wasn't the person I wanted to be. I wasn't the person I remembered being. And it it's not a matter of not just drinking, because drinking and using is just a symptom of a deeper seated problem. And I had to find out what that problem was. What in me made me feel like I was not good enough, that made me feel like I didn't measure up. And I had that feeling since I was a small child. And I slipped. I was in and out of the program for fucking shit, almost 10 years before I finally before I finally got this thing. And I was a trash can junkie. Opiates were my drug of choice, but I wouldn't pass up any drug. Any drug that would get me out of my head of how I was feeling here and now was good enough for me. And I had to learn that I have to live life on life's terms, whether I like it or not. Doing drugs and drinking never got rid of the problems. They might have covered them for a little while, but for me, as a rule, using and drinking exacerbated my problems, because I got to the point where I didn't give a fuck, and I would tell people I didn't give a fuck, and I burnt so many bridges and hurt so many people that, I mean, eh, I got to the point where it was impossible for me, to. I mean, I had no self-respect. I wasn't trusted by anybody in the community, and I thought, I will never be like these people. And I thought, if I quit doing drugs, I'll never have fun again. That was my thought in early sobriety. But here's where I want to say the 12 steps can work for an atheist. If you can get past the God shit, and you're going to hear a lot of God shit, you're going to hear a whole lot of God shit. But if you could find someone that will take you through the work and not care about your beliefs, I really do think it can help. I'm going to try to find the secular 12 steps, and just to show you um, what the secular 12 steps consist of. I'll give you a second to find it, and I will pull it up and I'll share it with you guys. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Choo-choo. Hmm. Well, for some reason, it's not showing up on my screen share, so I'll just read them to you. Step one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and drugs, and that our lives had become unmanageable. I had no problem admitting that because my life was a fucking mess. I mean, toward the end of my using, I was literally banging anywhere from $50 to $150 worth of heroin a day. And don't ask me where I came up with the money. I really couldn't tell you, but I'll tell you that it was not by legal means. Number two, we came to accept and to understand that we needed strength beyond our awareness and resources to restore sanity. Now, them strengths beyond our awareness and resources are the group, because there's no better group of people than another group of alcoholics and addicts that you can talk to and that can understand you. Because if I were to go and tell my problems to a normal person, they would think I was fucking insane. They just don't understand. They don't get it. Now, number three is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of the AA program. Now, the regular 12 steps that's became or made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to God as we understood Him. Um, I, I I think that's a pretty disingenuous statement. It's pretty much saying that even if you don't believe in God, just fake it until you make it, and that's a bunch of bullshit. They act like atheists are really we really believe in God, but we have some beef with God, and that's not the case. Number four is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Now, this one is an important one because this is where you find out why you do the things you do and why you feel the way you feel. Um, and what part you played in it. And the only way you can change is by finding out what you need to change. Now, changing is not an easy thing by any means. Um, you have to learn how to live a totally different lifestyle. Um, all the friends you had while you were using, well, if you want to call them friends, you might as well do away with them because misery loves company and they will try to get you to use again. They're gonna try to convince you, oh, you'll be fine. You're not a drug addict. Yada 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 yada. So that was the first thing. Okay, now step 5 is admitted to ourselves without reservation and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Now, the reason that's important is because even though I made searching for fearless moral inventory of myself, I, as an addict, will rationalize and justify the things I did so they won't seem so bad. But if I say it out loud to another person and have another person's input, they could show me where I was selfish and self-serving in my resentments towards other people. Because 9 out of 10 times, I'm not saying people have never done bad things to me for no reason, because they have. My sponsor told me that we need to get all this out in the open because they say light is the best disinfectant. Now, number 6 is we're ready to accept help in letting go of all of our defects of character, which would be stuff like lying, stealing, cheating. Um, I- the list goes on and on and on. 7 is we humbly sought to have our shortcomings removed. 8 is we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Now, this is something that is farther down the list because as an addict, you promise everybody that, oh, I'm so sorry I fucked up again. I'm going to change. I'm not going to be this way. I'm going to be different. But actions speak louder than words. I've told people so many things so many times when I was using that they had every right not to believe me, because I was full of shit. I told you what I thought you wanted to hear so I could get what I wanted. And there's people who are aware of that. And there's people that you're gonna go make amends to that fucking slam the door in your face. You're nobody to them, but you gotta take the good with the bad, and you can't let that discourage you. Right, number 9 is made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so are others. Now, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when do so, which would injure them or others. I count that as like, say I stole something from somebody. Um, yeah, that would hurt them, but it could also hurt me because they could press charge against me. And that's not doing me any good if I'm in jail. Is this something that I should do? I mean, is that really the best option? Some people argue that yes, if you've committed crimes, you should be held responsible for them. I myself think that if it's in the past, you admit to the person, you give them time to think about it, and they still want them to do it. Oh well, you know, that's just the way it is. So, I mean, like I said, a lot of this stuff. I mean, it seems silly when you read it, but once you get into it and realize the reasoning behind it, it makes a lot more sense. Now, 10 is continue to take personal inventory and when we are wrong, promptly admitted it. That's something I have to do quite often because say I don't know, I'm a dick to my wife for no reason. Now, she might let it go, but I'm not gonna let it go, and that makes my mind start thinking stupid shit. So the best thing for me to do is to be like, "Hey, babe, I was out of line. I need to apologize right now." That's showing them that you are making an effort to try to be a better person. Um, I in my early sobriety, the biggest thing for me was keeping busy because I had no idea what to do with my life. Once I quit doing drugs, I was like, well, fuck, man, I got 24 hours of time to fill and absolutely no idea how to fill it. So, I mean, just small things like taking a walk or, you know, um, getting involved in service work at AA, giving people a ride to meetings, calling other alcoholics and addicts and talking to them. Just small things like that. It's you wouldn't believe how helpful it is to talk to other alcoholics and addicts. I think a lot of them are wrapped up in the prayer thing, considering the book was written during the Great Depression. Um, so you know things were a little different back then. Now 11 is sought through mindful inquiry and meditation to improve our spiritual awareness, seeking only for knowledge of our rightful path in life and the power to carry that out. Now, I don't really care for that word spiritual too much, but in my mind, being a spiritual person is just being the best person you can be for the greater good of society. Um, that's the, that's the only way I can think of it, and not think of it in a with religious overtones. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs, which is a very, very important thing to do. Once I've uh, once I've got once I've got this so-called spiritual awakening, and I've changed into a different person who does things with no thought of being repaid, um, that changes a lot of things. I mean, that's totally opposite of the way I used to be. Like before is someone give hey, will you give me a ride? Well, what am I gonna get out of it? And there's a fine line between helping and being used, and everybody finds that on their own, you know. Um are there anybody in the chat that have any questions that they would like to ask? Or is there anybody in the chat that would like to join me and be able to add a different opinion, or do they have something that they would like to correct me on, and if they have a different idea of how things may work? All right, well, let me know if there are. Um, see, I started I'll tell you a little bit about my story, okay? When I was young, I was bullied a lot as a child. Um, so I was always, even as a child, I never felt like I measured up. I didn't fit in with nobody. Um, I got bullied a lot. School was hell for me. The teachers never helped me because I wasn't the rich kid, I mean, there's classism in everywhere you go. High school came. I still didn't do drugs. I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to doing drugs. But once I started, I used with a vengeance. Um, I started out like any normal person, like any normal teenager. I started out by smoking pot and drinking alcohol. And early on, I noticed I was different than everybody else. Everybody else would drink a six pack and be ready to go home. I would drink my six pack and then drink whatever else I could get from anybody else, and I was never quite ready to stop the partying. Um, so that evolved into I was working and cocaine was so plentiful. I got a great deal on Mexican blow. My dealer didn't even speak English. I'd get $500 ounces, and this shit was so hard I had to break it up with a hammer. So I was getting really good blow, and so now I'm drinking. What I would do is I would do blow all day, and then I would drink myself to sleep every night. That's just a heart attack in the waiting. And then I discovered amphetamines, and you know, cocaine is cocaine's a very addictive drug. If I gave the Pope a line if within 10 minutes, I could own the Pope hat because he would do another line. Now, meth has a similar. It's an upper like cocaine, but it's a little bit different, and the effects of meth are more long lasting. So, of course, you're going to switch to a drug that's cheaper. When you're a drug addict, I mean, money's a very important factor. So, I did meth. And then what happened, and I continued my normal drinking, smoking pot. I'd do coke occasionally. Well, I worked in a factory and I got hurt and I got prescribed opiates. And I was on opiates prescribed for like 2 years. They started out small with like Ultrams, Tramadols, and then they moved up to Vicodins. I was still in pain, so they moved me up to Oxycontins. Um, and by that time, opiates took over everything. Like drinking didn't matter to me anymore. Smoking pot didn't matter to me anymore. The meth didn't matter anymore. The opiates is what mattered because opiates, what they do to your body is they dump endorphins into your brain and they give you a false sense of well-being. Uh, and your brain makes more receptor for the opiates. So when you quit doing opiates, your body isn't making endorphins anymore, so you're so apathetic, you're dragging ass, you're physically sick. So it's so easy to relapse because you know that one bag or a few pills will make you feel better for a little while, but only for a little while. There's no there isn't a magical cure. As much as a lot of people in them like rehab places like to say, "Oh, I was an addict for 30 days and then I went to this place and now I'm not an addict." Bullshit. You're still an addict. Once an addict, always an addict. No one's going to change my mind on that. I haven't used opiates in 5 years, but if I shot heroin right now, there'd be a really good chance that I'm going to continue shooting heroin because my brain remembers how that makes me feel, and it's going to take me right back to where I was. Um, so back to the 12-step program. When I went in, the God thing, it drove me fucking insane. Like everybody was like, "Oh God, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be sober today." And I'm just like, you know, it doesn't have nothing to do with using a support group or taking action, finding out what you did wrong with your life. Like I always thought they're like, I get on my knees every morning and I pray, and I thought, what, does your God's magic wear off after 24 hours or something? I mean, like, if God's all powerful, you'd think it'd be a one and done deal. I ask for help, I receive help, now I'm a different person. And we all know it doesn't work that way. Recovering from addiction takes a lot of time, and there's going to be a lot of screw ups. But the main thing is to keep at it. I mean, if there is a way to get clean without AA, I would love it. I mean, if it wasn't uh, a theistic movement, I'd be down with it. Um, there are some alcoholic agnostic groups in the world or in America. There's not one in Illinois where I live, but there is some in Southern Illinois, I believe, and there's a couple in the west of Illinois. I wish they had one around here, but like I said, when you're drowning, man, and you go to these meetings, um, I heard a lot of shit I didn't like, but I heard enough to realize that, hey, these people are just like me, and maybe they can help me. So the first thing I had to do was learn to be honest with myself. And if anybody's a drug addict or been a drug addict, they know that's one of the hardest things to do. The next thing I had to do was be open minded and be able to take suggestions. Now, the prayer thing, I'm not going to do that, and my sponsor knew I wasn't going to do that. So he said, just he said, if you have to pray in a secular way, just pray for, the best thing that may happen to you. Um, and that obviously worked, and things got a little bit better. Um, and as I grew in the program, I would, whenever someone would pick a topic, they always wanted to talk about God, God this, God that. You know, God woke me up this morning. I'm so thankful for that. Yeah, God woke you up and 7.5 billion other people. You know, they don't understand the whole cause and correlation thing. I mean, I don't want to say people that believe in God are dumb, but they're very superstitious and they're not giving credit where credit is due. And I think that's silly. Um, okay, yeah, Brian Stevens, meditation is a thing. That's what I do in lieu of praying because meditation does center your thinking and um it helps you clear your mind and put you in a different frame of mind of where you need to be. So I totally agree with your meditation thing. Um so onward goes, and all these people, there's a chapter, I don't know if any of you are familiar with AA, but in AA there's a chapter called We Agnostics. And in that chapter, I don't think they were trying to be nasty about it, but pretty much what they're saying is you don't have to believe in our higher power, but your higher power will do until you've had a spiritual awakening, and then you'll find God. And I'm like thinking, this is fucking stupid. I mean, am I gonna find God? No, I'm not gonna find God because I'm an ardent atheist, and there are a lot of atheists that stayed sober through the years with AA Agnostica. And a lot of AA groups have problems with AA Agnostica because they're like, well, if you don't believe in a higher power or a God, then you're not a real AA group. A real AA group is nothing more than two alcoholics or addicts talking to each other and helping each other. That's what it boils down to. Um, okay, let's see if I can find the We Agnostics chapter, and I'll read it to you, and I'll see if you agree with how how condescending that chapter is. Okay, seems I found one. Choo, 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 choo. Okay, We Agnostics. Okay, We Agnostics, Chapter 4. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something about alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non alcoholic. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit drinking entirely, or if when drinking you find you cannot quit entirely, or I'm sorry, if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you have little control over the amount you take, you're probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. To come when one feels he is an atheist or agnostic, such an experience seems impossible, but to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or live on a spiritual basis are not easy alternatives to face. But it isn't so difficult. About half of our original fellowship were exactly of that type. At the time of we tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope. We were not true alcoholics. But after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find the spiritual basis of life, or else. And in that part, I do agree. And I don't, like I said, I don't believe in the spiritual aspect as a supernatural thing. But we do need to find a different way to live, or we are doomed. And like I said, good orderly direction was the closest thing I could come to a higher power, because good orderly direction was the exact opposite of everything I'd done when I was in my active addiction. Good orderly direction is not lying anymore, not cheating anymore, not stealing anymore, not involving myself with people that may make me slip and revert back to where I was, which was a hard thing to do. I mean, when you throw away friends of 20 years, I mean, I explained to him, like, hey, man, I don't want to not be your guys' friends anymore. Have you thought about getting help? And they just laughed at me. Hmm, okay. Okay, perhaps it's going to be that way with you, but cheer up. Something like half our thought we were atheists or agnostics. Our experience shows us that you not be disconcerted. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us, many of us would have recovered long ago, but we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live. And if it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously, but where and how are we to find that power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. To make objects to enable you to find a power greater than yourself. Now, a power greater than ourselves to me has always been the group and a group of drunks, because these are people that I can rely on that never expect nothing back from me. Before that, I never had what I would call true friends. I had acquaintances, but once my drugs were gone, they were gone. Or once I had no money to buy drugs from them, they wanted nothing to do with me. Once I quit doing drugs, same thing. They wanted nothing to do with me. It was so easy for them to cut me out of their life that I realized that these people weren't my friends at all. Um, where was I? Okay, a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problems. That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. And it means we believe to be spiritual. Oh, and it means, of course, that we're going to talk about God. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times we talk to these new people. Mannion watches hope rise as we discuss the alcoholism problem and explain our fellowship, but his face falls when we speak of excuse me when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God. For we have reopened a subject which our man thought we had really neatly evaded or entirely ignored. We know now how it feels. We have shared the honest doubt and prejudice. Some of us have been violently anti-religious, which would be someone like me. To others, the word God brought up a particular idea of him, which included someone had tried a particular idea to him, which someone had tried to impress them during childhood. Perhaps we project um, mm, these particular mm, conception has seemed. So, if you want to, so okay, I'll get back to you. Want to hear a little bit of my story? So I started out, like I said, smoking pot, drinking alcohol. Then I started doing cocaine. Then I started doing meth, and I got hurt at work. I worked in a factory. I got prescribed painkillers. I was on a weaker painkiller for 6 months or so. It was a serious injury. It was a torn rotator cuff. If anybody knows about a torn rotator cuff, that takes 9 months to a year to fully heal. So after about 6 months, they upped my dosage to a higher or a stronger painkiller, which was, I think, at that time, it was Oxycontin 5 milligrams. I took them for 3 or 4 months, and they upped my dosage to um, 5 milligrams of hydrocodone and 10 milligrams of Oxycontin. So I started taking that. Mm. And that was shortly after fentanyl came out. Now, fentanyl is one of the strongest man made opiates on the earth. It is so strong that it's measured in micrograms. instead of milligrams. Um, if there's any opiate that's as close to heroin as I can think of, it has to be fentanyl. Now, usually fentanyl comes in patches. They're gel inside of a patch. It's supposed to be 3 days worth of use. Now, I abused them by I would cut them open, I would suck the juice out of them, and I'd be fucking fucked up. I mean, fucked up. I OD'd on fentanyl probably 3 times. Um, and I the insanity of it was dying. Uh, I died twice and almost died 3 times. That wasn't enough to stop me from using. As soon as I got out of the hospital, the first thing I did was try to go and cop. So that that never helped. So on it goes for years and years. From the time I was probably 25 till the time I was 35, I was spending so much on heroin that I left my wife even like because if I stayed with her, that mean I had to pay bills. If I had to pay bills, I couldn't afford the drugs I needed. So voila, I left my first wife. There were other reasons, but the main reason really was I was a drug addict and she was infringing on my lifestyle. Now, when I told her this, she fucking, of course, didn't believe me because who the hell leaves their wife because they're a drug addict? Um, so I did that. I for a couple more years, and I got with this girl that was many years younger than me. I was, I think, 33 at the time, and she was 21. And I thought, oh, hell, look, I got me a 21-year-old, sweet, young, fucking tight bodied 21-year-old. But once I realized that I had nothing in common with her besides the fact that I like to have sex with her, I couldn't talk to her on an intellectual level. I really didn't like her when her clothes were on. Um, so I didn't know she was addicted to another drug, K2, that fake weed shit. And I know that she was borrowing money off my dad, borrow money off other people. I found out later that she was prostituting herself for money to buy drugs. And it just so happened one of them people she prostituted herself to was my dad. And when that happened, I fucking flipped out and she beat the shit out of me. And my retaliation was she said, there's nothing you can do about this because if you call the cops, I'm going to tell them you beat me and you'll go to jail. And I thought, yeah, right, that possibly can't happen. I haven't laid a finger on you. So I threw the phone at her, said, call the cops, bitch. Fucking look what you've done to me and look what I've done to you, which is nothing besides throwing a phone. And the cops come, she whines and cries and tells her story. I, like a dumbass, instead of practicing my Fifth Amendment, told the cop exactly what had happened, and I got arrested. So I go to court, and I thought, it was just going to be a regular domestic battery. I threw a phone at her, and they're going to, it's a $500 fine. I'll be able to, or a $500 bond. I'll be able to bond out that day. But she told them all kinds of crazy shit, like I choked her and all kinds of crazy shit. So my charge was not just a domestic battery; it was aggravated domestic battery, which is a class 2 felony. And they said I was looking at 2 to 7 years. And I thought, what the fuck? I'd never been in jail before. I was terrified, 2 to 7 years. Um, so so I go for a bond reduction and I figure, okay, well, I'm going to be honest with these people and I'm going to tell them, look, I'm a drug addict, blah, blah, blah. I can't be in here. Um, uh, I'm going to get out and I'm going to get help and blah, blah, blah. No bond reduction. So finally, I come up with the money for the bond, which was $2,500. So I get out and I was proactive about it. I got involved in an outpatient treatment program, which I knew they were going to put me in anyway. I had to go to, I don't remember what they're called, but I called them women beaters classes, which actually I learned a lot from. And all the stuff I learned from that, I've put forward towards my new relationship. My new relationship's great. I've never even yelled at her in anger, never called her a name, never raised my hands at her. Um, we have a wonderful, wonderful relationship. I had to go to cognitive dissonance classes. I had to go to probation. Oh, I mean, it was just you'd think I was a fucking axe murderer. All the shit I had to do. On top of that, I had to serve. I got sentenced to 4 months of jail. I had to do 60 days because good time. I had good time. Um, and that was the thing that woke me up. When I got out of jail, I didn't want to go to prison, so I started going to meetings, and it did save my life, and it did keep me out of prison. So I am very, very thankful for the 12-step program that happened. Um, and you know, I mean, I had a lot of hurt and anger, but I knew that me reacting to that stuff would get me nowhere, or else it would either make me start using again, or the worst case scenario, my bond would be revoked and I'd be retried and I'd end up going to prison. So that opened my eyes, and it wasn't just that. It was when the drugs you're using, when you're just as miserable high as you are sober, it's time to quit using. I mean, that's a pretty good sign that you're to the point where um you're to the point where you're ready to try anything. So I went back to the like I said, I went back to the meetings. I I put up with the God shit. Unluckily, around here, they do have an agnostic AA, but of course, it's not around here at all. So, I still, even to this day, after having April 16th, 2013 was the last time I shot up. And the only reason I remember that is because I got out of jail that day and went and used with a really good buddy of mine, who's dead now. So I mean that mind that that what's the word I'm looking for? That date sticks out in my mind. I don't think I'll ever forget it. So I I went to meetings. I changed my life all the way around. Like I did things that like I wasn't used to. Like if there was a cart in the Walmart parking lot, I mean this is small stuff you think wouldn't matter, but I would push that cart back to the cart return just because that is something I would have never thought of doing when I was using. When I was using, if I didn't get nothing from it, nothing was going to get done from it. I started treating people with respect. Um, I started keeping my promises, and slowly but surely, I gained the trust of my friends and family back, which was no easy thing to do because the people you hurt most in your addiction are obviously people that are closest to you. So that trust was a hard thing to gain back because trust alone is hard enough to gain from anybody. But once you've broken someone's trust, to get that trust back, that's an amazing feeling. Um, at the worst of I mean, for a long time, I was a functioning addict. I had good jobs. I worked in a factory. I welded and painted. And I made, good money for the area I live in, anywhere from $17 to $20 an hour. But my addiction got so bad that I couldn't even hold a job. And then my work record looked shitty. I mean, yeah, for the first, 20 years of my work record, it was stellar. I always excelled in every job they gave me. I was a great worker. I didn't miss work. But once it got so bad to be where when you're a heroin addict and you're out of drugs, you are so apathetic and so sick physically and mentally that there's no chance you're gonna be worth a fuck to anybody. So my work record went downhill from there. Luckily, uh, within the program, there's no when it comes to drug addiction, there's no age group that's exempt. There's no race that's exempt. There's no social class that's exempt. I mean, there's people from doctors to street bums that are in the program. And luckily, I mean, at first, obviously, no one wants to take a chance and give me a job. But luckily, my sponsor, I've got a lot of experience in machine working, like lathes and milling machines and stuff like that. So, and he builds wood boilers, and he gave me a job, and it's a very good job, and I'm very thankful for that job. So, I mean, but it was really hard to find a job because my work record had gotten so just so I was just fucking a lazy junkie for 2 years. I mean, my only goal in life was to score dope, shoot dope, sell dope, buy some more dope, shoot some more dope. Um, so it was a huge change. Um, so I do think there is a place in the 12-step program for atheists if they can get away from the peer pressure and stick to their guns and say they're atheists. But it takes a lot of work. You have to put a lot of work into it. Um, like say, for instance, at the end of a meeting, let's say the Lord's Prayer. Now, for a while there, I joined and I just didn't say anything out of respect. But then I thought, they need to respect my beliefs too. And it took a while, but they finally got that. So, moral of the story is yes, 12-step programs will work for atheists if they're hurting enough and they're willing to stay open minded, honest, and willing to do the things they need to do to stay sober. It will work. Is there any questions from the chat that anybody may have? Or is there anybody that would like to now change the subject and we can talk about something else? I would be more than happy to send you a link and we can do that. It is 4:19. I just got up about an hour ago. You want a link? Gotcha. Brian, any of you? Or I could shut this stream off and we can start a totally different stream and we can talk about something else. Does anybody have a topic in mind that might be a good topic? All right. Do you have a do we follow each other on Twitter, Vash? You have a YouTube channel, right? You have a YouTube channel, right, Vash? Yes, you do. And you have a new subscriber, buddy. Now, if anybody could tell me how I send messages to fellow YouTubers on their channel, that'd be great. Oh, okay. You're that at Vash Olansa is your Twitter. Let me look you up real quick, buddy. Yeah, I don't see. I'm not seeing anything for the. I'm not seeing a a Twitter for that. Vash. Maybe I typed it in wrong. No, I don't think I did. Well, there's not too many people. So how about I just put the chat in the link? There's not too many of us here, so I'm not that worried about it. Oops. There you go, boys. Oh, there you are, Rash. I'm following you now, Vash, on Twitter.
Hello.
Hello. How goes it?
Thank you.
Parties. Oh, no problem, man.
Yeah, pardon the no face on here. I'm still trying to get all my social platforms all aligned.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, I was about to do a stream on like a Super Nintendo game, and I saw yours come up, and I was like, you know what? And I just made a post on my Discord, shared the link, and I was like, no, I'm gonna, you know, watch this guy.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, it is a very, very. Most people don't think about the non-religious people whenever it comes to the 12-step program.
Right,
Um,
they don't. And it's sad that you know what's sad is that like what I try to do when newcomers come in is like I try to take them like I can see it when you can see when people start talking about God like the way like you can tell an atheist when they start hearing about God, you can just see it in their face. So I always try to, you know, tell them that this program can work for atheists too. You just got to take what you can use and leave the rest behind. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You
I
know.
completely agree with that.
So,
As for me, I want to just go ahead and say I do smoke herb. It's because I have scoliosis. I try and I think that it's a lesser of two evils whenever it comes to the pharmaceutical industry.
oh, I totally agree. I still smoke herb, and
Yeah,
I've never, okay, I look at it this way, dude. I've never done anything for pot that is like heroin. I would rob a motherfucker, cocaine. I would rob, but pot. I've never done anything that I would consider untoward. I've never
yeah.
robbed anybody for a bag of weed. I've never ripped anybody off on a bag of weed. Well, I mean, maybe in my teenage years I may have, but that's just because teenagers don't have money, and that's the way it works out.
I sold oregano once.
Yeah, we've all done a little bit of shadiness in our younger years.
Yeah. And the guy actually came back to me and was like, "That's really good, man." I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah, I'm glad that you liked it."
that's fucking hilarious.
But I
Um,
don't.
no, but no, I like to talk about addiction on my channel because I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about addiction because of the stigma behind it. And
Yeah.
I want to normal, I want to normalize it, because do you realize the amount of addicts in America?
Oh yes, it's actually I personally believe in the conspiracy that the pharmaceutical industry and the government are pretty much doing that. I
I
mean,
agree. I'm not usually a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe that the pharmacy um, willfully leaves out how dangerous their pharmaceuticals are to make money. Like, I mean, like, have you ever seen the commercials where, well, this medication will help you with this, but it may cause this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. Then
yeah,
you, then you need another pharmaceutical to take care of them symptoms, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So I mean, it's definitely, they're more worried. I'm not saying that pharmaceuticals aren't a wonderful thing, but I think pharmaceutical companies are more worried about money than they are about saving lives. Personally,
I think that's what I was wondering. It is not so much a conspiracy where the government and the pharmaceutical companies are in any sort of cahoots. It is where the pharmaceutical companies are paying for their ability, like any other big company, to influence the laws through lobbying. It's pretty simple, but it's not like a conspiracy in a lot of the ways where they're all in cahoots to do it secretly.
right.
You know, make us all like what is it, like control our minds and all that sort of garbage. Because I know that is where a lot of those conspiracies go in their extremes, and a lot of people can misunderstand. So I thought it'd be good to clarify.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. Um, do you make content on your channel, Cryptic?
It's Vash.
Oh,
I tried to go by that name like a long time ago, but yeah, we have like I occasionally give people interviews and like we talk about other like content and stuff like that. And sometimes we talk about things in the news. Um, haven't really figured out what I'm trying to do yet.
right. When I first started, I just did a bunch of bullshit kind of streams. I mean, I was starting out like, but I've my channel. The direction I want to go in now is I'm a history buff. I love. I mean, I'm a recovered drug addict, and I love music. So I
Mhm.
I thought maybe I could. What I do mostly is interview atheists. Wednesday, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. I'm interviewing Bran from the Geek Room, And then sometime later this week, I'm going to be doing Kyle Curtis.
Nice.
I'm looking really forward to that. Steve McRae also said he'd come on, but he argues about everything, so I'm not. I'm a little nervous about Steve McRae coming on, but I mean, I will have him on eventually. I got Godless Cranium and Shannon Q in the wings. It's just Shannon Q is so busy; it's just hard to find time to get her on, and she's just a busy beaver. So,
Yeah.
but I
I
mean,
thought it was like that with GE. I've been wanting to interview GE ever since I started my channel, basically.
have you asked him?
Yeah, no, I did. I asked ages ago, and like, you know, I'm in the waiting sort of thing. And then
Yeah.
Don got an interview with him the other day. I'm like, how long have you been waiting for that interview? He's like, oh, I asked him like last week. I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah, just keep on top of
Not
it.
really.
You know
That's
who
it.
your
It's because I haven't gotten back to him for ages.
your best bet with GE Nacha is get a hold of Caitlin Coley and talk to her.
She's in on it.
Yeah, get a hold of Caitlin. And
the Joker side, it is more on me than them, definitely, because like I was on the waiting list and I know things got on top and I'm sure they've just forgotten about it and I haven't gotten back to them to go, hey, are we doing this thing? You know? So I just like to joke about it though.
June 19th, Richard Carrier is going to be in Alabama, and he's going down to visit G and Caitlin. And I have family in Alabama, so I'm going to try really, really, really hard to go down there for a week just so I can meet Richard Carrier. I really, really like Richard Carrier.
Have you talked to him in person yet, or?
I've talked to him a little bit, but not as much as I would like to. But I'm sure that I could probably arrange to have Richard Carrier on, but I'm like a fanboy, so I really don't want to come across that way. But I would love to interview Richard Carrier. That'd be awesome. I would really like to meet him though. I don't know if you know this, Vash, but my girlfriend's a devout Christian, and she's a librarian, right? So like she can get me books from all over. And she's like, well, I don't want to rent this under my name. So she made me a dummy card for books that I can rent that she doesn't want under her name. So that was pretty cool. I'm waiting on the historicity of Jesus. I don't know if any of you guys have seen any of Richard Carrier's any of his talks or anything. But he's brilliant. I mean, he's literally brilliant.
I believe I've listened to a couple of his things, and like I think there was a few videos of him debating that I saw. Not really sure though.
Yeah, check him out if you get a chance. And he's not just like, I mean, for being a doctor with PhD in like ancient history and languages, this guy is so down to earth. I mean, it's so easy to talk to. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Do you have Nacha? Do you what do you have in what plans do you have for your channel in the future? What direction would you like to go?
Well, I don't know. I'm having a bit of a moment because on one part of my videos, I've just got one of the bigger channels agreeing to do a collab with me, which is fantastic. And
awesome. Who's that?
Video of, Telltale.
Oh, I just gotta figure out a time But I got an interview with him coming up too. We just gotta get our schedules to coincide.
Yeah, it's like that. Hey, just trying to work. Like, because even me and him just trying to contact each other, it's once, one message back and forth a day because of our time zone differences.
Yeah.
So every day it's just like one extra message.
Yeah, it's not such a pain in the ass. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm surprised at how willing the bigger channels are to come on channels like ours and actually, interact with us.
Pretty much the biggest channels in our community are like Professor Stick and those types, just over 100,000 subs. That's not a big channel.
Right. It's big for our niche. It's big.
Exactly. But that's why, in the grand scheme of things, they are still rather approachable. Like, they haven't had that massive amount of pressure and amount of exposure that the real big channels on YouTube do, where you are just almost completely devoid of your audience because of it. And it is a good thing. I'm not, disagreeing by all means. I too was amazed at how approachable Telltale was, what it is. And not just him. Like, I think it was like my third or something video. I don't know. It was pretty early. I put a video out shouting out all of the atheist YouTube. And they all responded. Like, I was a nobody with no subs, and that's why I am where I am now, because they all responded so early and they've all been so approachable. And I think I've so great. Yeah, no, it is. And you see it even in their own videos. Like, you look at GE's videos with how they're, talking about the community and trying to build us up, trying to find those new ones. And then you see people like the new ones, like me, like Don, like Mac, who are doing the exact same thing, reaching out, going, hey, we've just met this person, and throwing them in an interview, trying to push their name out there as well. And if that could be a commonality amongst our community, as well as skepticism or atheism, that would be a wonderful thing.
Right.
One of the things I'm honestly waiting on to do my more hot topic, like hot button topics, is I'm kind of waiting on BitChute to go into live streaming. And as soon as that happens, I'm going to try and like go into the more like the deeper topics. But right now I can't because of the YouTube guidelines.
Right.
And I believe that they're very, very restricting, and the people have weaponized it in the way that they will wait until you have like 5 or 6 videos of something wrong, and then they'll flag all 5 or 6 videos back to back, and then that makes it to where you pretty much just lose your channel.
Right.
And
motherfucker, sorry, you just made me think of something that just happened tonight. I do regular grading videos of a character called Dr. Guyman, who's
I've seen that.
No, I love doing them because they're lots of fun, and they're like, I don't know, he's a kid, like, I sort of hope to manage to get him to start doing better videos, and he sort of has been. But he's, I don't know, for whatever reason, his channel has just been deleted. It wasn't him doing it. He's, talked to all of us that he does debunking videos with, and he's like, hey, like, my channel's just been deleted. What the fuck? I don't know what's going on. And it sucks. It fucking sucks. Because I was literally in the middle of a 3-parter with my fellow writer, and I was just lucky I downloaded all those 3 videos. But I'm like, what's the point of doing a debunk if he hasn't even got his channel up anymore?
Right.
Ah, it fucking blows.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they tried to go after Bering, but
yeah.
I think Bering won that one.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I don't understand the algorithm, like who they deems as bad and who they deem as good. Like there's channels like Queer Kid stuff. That shit shouldn't be fucking children. You know,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be shown to children. I have nothing against gay people, but to try to indoctrinate children that early in life, I think that's wrong. I mean, you know, I mean, if you turn out to be gay, then that's fine and dandy.
Yeah.
But to try to get all these people on the bandwagon, and you know, I mean, how many, you know, these transgenders or pretenders? How many of them do you think will be the same once they hit their 30s? I mean, we all went through phases when we were in our 20s. You know what I mean? How
Yeah.
many of them will stick with it, you think?
With all respect, you do know Lavender Lady, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just with the age thing. Like she's been her way since she was a teenager. She hasn't been able to afford to go further, but that's still who she is.
Right. But I'm just saying the culture today, I sometimes wonder if I sometimes wonder if um I sometimes wonder if they're actually trans or if they're just doing it as a phase to be popular. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Like,
I
oh,
would I would
go ahead.
push that the concept of it being a popular thing, as in to be the trendy thing, would be something that would not last on somebody if they were doing it temporarily as a trendy thing, because of the fact that still to this day the trans community deal with worse discrimination even than the lesbian and gay community. And it's not something like I honestly would I would ask, if that is your opinion, I would ask that you put yourself in that role for even a week and
Right.
see the treatment you get through that week, and ask, would you be able to do that for a year or for whatever, for make it yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, people do that sort of thing to be dicks and just to be trendy, but it does not last at all. And it's very obvious that they're being wankers, or they're just trying to express themselves and experiment and work themselves out. And I also understand that idea that you don't want those sorts of videos being presented to children, but I don't completely agree that it is an agenda being pushed on children.
Right.
I understand that it can definitely appear that way. People go too far and aren't very good with the way they express themselves, especially with online vloggers. But I wouldn't say that is any form of intent to like persuade the children in any way. It's more about trying to show that if you're already feeling that way, you don't have to hide it. You don't have to feel like you're being doing something wrong, or you're bad, or there is anything wrong with you for feeling that way. And I think that is the thing that is difficult, even for people like me. I'm a country boy. Like I grew up with very similar values, likely as a lot of you guys, and they weren't positive values, and I acknowledge that. And so I feel that if you can accept the extra hardships that some of those folk do have to go through, you can sort of see that, well, this is just them now getting that opportunity to express themselves, and it does go overboard sometimes. But if you've been held back for so long, of course you're just gonna blurt it all out. You're gonna go a little overboard, and we are very fresh into this movement.
Right. Someone asked me the other day on Twitter, what would you think if a trans person were to come into your bathroom, and would it bother you? And I'm like, well, first of all, no, because they're in there to piss. They're not in there to pick me up. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and if more people had that attitude, then I think the world would be a little bit better off. Like, for instance, I've never had a gay person try to convert me. I've never had a trans person try to convert me. But I've had many Jehovah's Witnesses and
Many
Christians
Christians and Jedi,
Mormons.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
them are the people that are the ones that try to force their ideas on you, and that drives me nuts.
They're practically knocking on your door. Quite literally.
Yeah. And it's just insane. Young Earth creationists and flat earthers blow my mind on just, it's like they throw science out the window and I don't even know where they come up with the ideas they come up with. I really don't get it. Like Christians, I get where they come up with young Earth. They add up all the dates and Moses and Abraham and, whatever. And that they seem to think the world's 6,000 years old. But to say dinosaurs walked through the earth at the same time as Christians, that's just ridiculous to think that, It's ridiculous.
There are so many there are so many who will jump to things like that. Of all sorts.
That time when Caesar jumped on and mounted a raptor, and he said, "Havoc, let loose the hounds of hell."
Yeah, it's just insane. It's just insane. Actually, I wouldn't mind stopping the stream and we'll do and change it to a flat Earth and atheism kind of thing. That would be fun.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm keen. I've got a couple of hours left, so
yeah, I might do that. Change it. Just stop the stream, and we might end up getting a few more viewers, and it could turn out to be interesting. It could turn out to be interesting. So, how about I stop the stream? It'll take me. Oh, actually, I can get a new one set up right now. What's that?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you wanted to, you can keep this one going. I can set one up on mine, and we can just jump real quick.
Yeah, that'd be fine. We can do it on your
Unless
channel.
you want the views, you can do that. Because I know I'm a little bigger. Like, if you want the views, man.
You're a little bigger.
No, fuck that. You do it. No, you do it. No, look, I gotta go take a pee anyway. Fuck this. You can set it up. I don't want to take your views. That's not fair. I just come in here to chat. I'll be back soon. Oh, actually, I'll close out. Just
community. I wouldn't consider it you robbing views from me or anything. So
Yeah, no.
But let's see what kind of. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll set up one real quick. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get some flat earthers in here and piss them off.
That would be fun. All right. I'm going to close out now. Then you just send me the link, mate.
Well, no problem. I'll send it to your DM. Okay.
Yeah. Easy done.
Okay. Cool. Man.
Catch you soon.
Yep. It won't be that long.
And let's see here. There we go. All right. Don't know why it took me so long to do that.
Yeah, it's so hard to catch up with Notch because living in us being in America and him being in Australia, it's so hard to
Well, there's a lot of Aussies in my Discord.
Hey, I want to ask you something. You're an atheist as well, right?
Well, as for me, it's more of an agnostic because I have experienced some stuff that I can't really explain.
Yeah, I get you.
So, like, in that aspect, I can say that there might be something beyond, but I don't really believe in any specific religion.
Right, you don't.
Like,
There's no proof of the religions we have.
yeah. I mean, there's like certain things that you kind of look at and you go, hey, if that works, then, you know, cool, I guess. I'm not gonna really question it. But
Like a lot of atheists don't like to admit that, but I'm an agnostic atheist myself.
Mhm.
And the reason I am is because for me to say that there is absolutely no God, I don't have any proof of it, but it'd be disingenuous of me to say there is no God because I don't know for sure that there isn't some kind of higher power. I just don't think it's like the Abrahamic God that actually meddles in our affairs. I don't know if there's some kind of higher power. I can't prove that, just like a Christian can't prove that there is one. So I try to be truthful in all things, and for me to say there's absolutely no God would be silly because I can't prove that.
well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, because one second. Okay, but yeah, there's a lot of people think that morality stems from like religion, and it's like no, there is a thing called secular morality, and
Exactly.
they just scoff at that because it's like, oh really, you learn your morals and stuff from like communities. I'm like, actually, if you look into what the studies show in sociology, fucking yes. Like Japan believes that it's okay to sniff fucking panties.
Right.
You don't see a fucking panty vending machine in America, do you? Like, you know, like that. It shows that there's different cultures and different morals for those cultures.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that more and the other one. All right, so I'm going to stop this broadcast for now, and I'll get the other one set up right away. So it's how do I send it to Vash for your um? Do I send it to Vash for your?
Uh, for for every like well, for Google it's this name, but for everything else it's Vash.
Okay, so but I mean, if I want to send you a link on like a DM, send it to Vash.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All
I
right.
mean, I do have a Discord if you wanted me to.
Oh yeah, throw it in the side chat.
Yeah. Give me just a second.
I'd be happy to join.
Okay, copied and boom. There you go.
That'll be a lot easier to send you.
Yeah,
Links.
because I'm mainly on Discord all the time. So
Oh, cool. Cool.
that's where I run my live stream too, and we usually have pretty much an open mic kind of policy.
Okay. I'm on. It automatically took me to YouTube shill, so that's where it'll be.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna shut this one down for now, and I'll see you guys in just a second.